Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. Producer Pat Ford here filling in for David while he's away, but fear not, David will be back on Tuesday. Former President Donald Trump participated in a meeting this week with the Teamsters union, of course led by President Sean O'Brien, in an effort to gain their endorsement and weaken one of President Joe Biden's key support bases. This comes on the heels of Sean Fain and the United Automobile Workers endorsing Joe Biden, so Trump is trying to even the scorecard 1-1. The meeting was held at the Teamsters headquarters in Washington, D.C. It included Trump, it included O'Brien, and plenty of other figures. Trump in the meeting expressed confidence in securing the Teamsters endorsement, highlighting the successes he believes that the union had under his administration. The Teamsters union endorsed Joe Biden, however, in 2020, and Biden was also invited to participate in a meeting with the Teamsters. The Biden campaign expressed eagerness to earn the union's endorsement for the upcoming election. The Teamsters stated that the roundtable was an opportunity for candidates, including Trump and including Biden, to discuss how they could work collaboratively to empower workers, to protect workers, to enhance labor standards, and just overall improve the economy here in the United States. They also met with many of the lower tier presidential candidates. The Teamsters are known for typically supporting Democratic candidates, but they will assert that their members have a wide array of political backgrounds and affiliations. Teamsters President Sean O'Brien emphasized the importance of candidates of all stripes addressing the concerns of working people and highlighting the union's openness to hearing from candidates of all parties. Despite Trump's outreach, Joe Biden has already secured endorsements from plenty of other unions for the 2024 race, like the auto workers, as I mentioned before, and it's likely he'll ultimately get the Teamsters endorsement as well. It looks like the union wanted to hear out Trump and these other candidates, but it seems to me like it's just lip service, and they'll eventually support Joe Biden again. Biden, after all, has been one of the most, if not the most, pro-labor president in a long time, whereas Donald Trump did zip when it comes to collective bargaining here in the United States. Instead, he largely favored the interests of big business rather than the working person. Nevertheless, Trump realizes that it is politically beneficial to pretend like you're on the side of unions. That's why during the auto workers strike last year, Trump spoke to a group of non-union workers in Michigan who held up union members for Trump signs, thinking that he could bamboozle people, thinking that he could make it so that the American public thinks that unions are on the side of Trump, when in fact they are by and large on the side of Joe Biden. It was actually Joe Biden who was putting pressure on the auto workers, on the auto industry, and actually stood alongside workers at the picket line in what was a presidential first. So even when the union inevitably endorses Joe Biden again, I think that Trump will show pictures from this Teamsters meeting and pretend like they endorsed him. He'll say something like, "Oh, well, even like the members of the union support me, even if the union bosses don't." And sadly, those lies will work on some people. Trump spoke before the union in addition to having the meeting, and some of the questions got very off topic. Here's the former president getting defensive about his numerous civil and criminal trials.
Jill? I don't understand what? What penalties? I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, that's been proven as far as I'm concerned. And actually, we won in the Court of Appeals. You probably saw that. That case has been largely won in the Court of Appeals. That was a political case coordinated with the White House by the Attorney General, I assume is what you're talking about. And we won that case largely in the Court of Appeals. That's a ridiculous case. That case is a ridiculous case. We're appealing it. She didn't know anything about me. She didn't know when it happened. There was nothing. People are looking at that case. It's a disgrace. We're appealing that case. We had a very hostile judge. We're appealing that case. It's a ridiculous case.
Now here is Donald Trump taking a question about Iran, and he starts talking about other countries, starts talking about inflation of all things, and he essentially makes the case that America wouldn't have any problems right now if Donald Trump was still president.
President Biden said that he has already decided how he is going to respond to the attack on the 3 Americans killed. If you were in the White House today, would you strike Iran directly?
It wouldn't have happened if I were in the White House. you would have never had this attack. You would have never had the attack on Israel. You would have never had the attack on Ukraine. You would not have inflation that was, just is destroying our country. The inflation is so bad.
It never would have happened if I was still president. I think that's going to be the go-to answer for Donald Trump over these next 9 months before the general election. I find it laughable when it comes to all of the points that he raised, but it's especially ludicrous when he tries to make this case about the conflict in Israel right now. Are we supposed to believe that Hamas wouldn't have engaged in the October 7th attacks if Donald Trump was still president because they would be too scared over Trump retaliating? That's an egregiously ignorant position to hold. So bottom line, the Teamsters are hearing out different presidential candidates. They'll likely end up endorsing Joe Biden, and Trump will pretend as though they endorsed him instead. Like I said before, the United Auto Workers already endorsed Joe Biden. I believe we've shown you this before on the show, but let's play it again as a reminder why union workers should support Biden and not Trump. Let's hear it directly from Sean Fain, who leads the auto workers. He told Neil Cavuto and a Fox News audience something that they didn't want to hear quite recently.
We had to look at a lot of things, and overall, we just had our contract fight with the big three, and our most successful contract in history. And President Biden stood there with us on the picket line. Unlike President Trump back in 19, when GM was on strike for 40 days, and he was completely non-existent and silent on the issue. I can go down through the list of things, the difference in the candidates, but it's very clear to us who stands with working class people in this country and who stands against them.
Your counterpart at the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, has met with Donald Trump and, of course, the president, all the major candidates when they were still in the race. You opted not to go that route, and I'm just curious as to why.
Well, you look at the body of work. I'm not going to speak for President O'Brien, but I will speak for the UAW. And
Sure.
In 2008, 2009, the economic recession, Donald Trump blamed the workers for what was wrong with these companies. In 2015, he talked about doing a rotation of good-paying jobs in the Midwest, somewhere where they'd pay less and have people begging for their jobs back at lower wages. In 19, also in 15, when Volkswagen workers voted to organize, he put an NLRB in place that killed the organizing, the contract for those workers. In 19, when he was president, he didn't support the strike. He told workers at Lordstown Assembly Plant, which was closing, don't sell your houses, and then he did nothing to support them. Versus President Biden, who in 2023, when a plant was going to close in Belvedere, Illinois for Stellantis, he stood with those workers. He helped us save a community and helped bring not one plant, but 2 plants back to life. And he stood with our members on the picket line in our fight for economic justice.
I gotta say, that is pretty brutal, but also pretty enjoyable to watch Sean Fain digging into Donald Trump in front of a Fox News audience. My hope is that when the Teamsters inevitably endorse Joe Biden, Sean O'Brien, the Teamsters president, will come out and do the exact same thing that Sean Fain did, perhaps in front of a Fox News audience, go full on gloves off, just like he did in that Senate hearing with Senator Mark Wayne Mullen not so long ago. We anticipate that the Teamsters will endorse Biden, but Trump will take credit for it anyway, pretend like unions have his back when, in fact, they don't, and hopefully the American public doesn't fall for it.
You may remember a few years ago, the show got hacked and several $1,000s were stolen. We never got it back. But now I have a lot more peace of mind because we use Aura. Our sponsor, Aura, is the all-in-one tool to protect your online and financial accounts. Aura alerts you anytime your personal info is found on the dark web or in data breaches, could be social security number, logins, financial accounts. You will get very fast alerts if a criminal does something like try to open up a bank account in your name, take out credit in your name. Aura will also monitor your bank accounts, your home and auto titles, which can help to guard against fraud. And Aura even protects your phone by letting you block and screen spam calls and texts. Aura has parental controls for your kids' devices to restrict apps, manage screen time, set focus time. You can try Aura free for 14 days at aura.com/Pacman. It only takes a few seconds to use the free trial to see if your username and passwords have been leaked online. The link is down below.